8 o'clock a.m., 8 a.m., Sunday, September 28th, 2025. The movie, The Atomic Bomb movie, is on order. Should be arriving this week sometime. I will rip it on the DVD player, one of several devices that I have here in the studio. If you go to housatonic.live, HOUSATONIC, it's a river, in the state of Connecticut, Quentucket, however they used to say it and however it was mispronounced. Matter of fact, if you just go to housatonic.live, and if you, up on top, you'll see Patreon, PayPal, and on there we have an address and even a little photograph of the P.O. box, and it's a larger P.O. box, which I guess I didn't need in retrospect, because if there's a package that someone sends me that's too big for the small P.O. box, they'll just give me a temporary key to the larger box. So maybe that was not the right investment. And I hate saying that because people trust me with their support. I think it's good having the more prominent box there, the 505. But if you do want to send a video or something, of course, it's appropriate. Happy to rip it and make it public. I won't do anything that is recent and would be considered, just a flagrant copyright violation. When it comes to older movies, things which are 20 plus years old, hey, you know what? You had your chance to make your money, and there's a lot of content out there that's 20 plus years old, which I consider to be extremely historically significant for the sake of our country and for our children. And I will rip that and make it put it online. And if someone complains, so be it. Thanks to censorship, I never get enough views or visibility anyways to cost anyone money. As a matter of fact, if somehow me sharing an old video, which costs some producer a lot of money, were to go viral and get a lot of attention, that would be more affordable advertising than actually paying, like for billboards or whatever. So they kind of shoot themselves in the foot right there. Anyways, if you do have some older content that is interesting, historically significant, difficult to get somewhere else, DVD, support is appreciated. But just the same, I can take books and whatever and make them available. Keep in mind that, and this can sound rude, it is going to sound rude, but if you've known me long enough, and if you've done this yourself, you'll know that what I don't need is more evidence. I'm already choking on evidence. I have piles of books which I haven't scanned in yet. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of links to things which I haven't even read yet or even acknowledged their existence of. There's no shortage of evidence out there. And I've put in 10 to 20,000 hours at least since I've started this endeavor several years ago. And it sounds like I'm being rude or unappreciative, but I know that there's a lot of evidence on the internet. I know that there's a lot of evidence in libraries. That's not what I'm looking for. Mark Kulak, HoustonLive. I worked in the tech industry, and it was the opioid epidemic, drug addiction, chronic Lyme, chronic disease, and some malfeasance potentially in the tech industry, but that just seems to be so small compared to the other things which I've been looking into. That got me involved in this and starting to do a podcast and maintaining one of the largest, if not the largest, independently maintained, freely available online historical archives in the world. 50,000 assets, 12 or 1,300 pages right now of information that is live. I'm going to be going over some more information regarding this historical timeline analysis of some people that are well known. And in fact, the way that this is playing out, knowing that all the world's a stage, I guess, or at least we're supposed to be looking at the stage while all the world is happening, I'm able to use some big names now in my keyword searches, like Robert De Niro, and of course, Hillary Clinton and Charlie Sheen. I don't know if this will impact my analytics or not. We'll see, because I've been speaking extensively about far lesser known people, and making more videos about people who are not well known, obviously, has not resulted in getting a lot more views because people just aren't searching for those names. But now that actor Charlie Sheen is getting hot, he's being promoted everywhere, let's just throw him into the mix and see what happens. So, Mark Kulak, HoustonLive. Thank you. But we're just going to be reminiscing for a little bit this morning, and I hope you guys are well. Mark Kulak, HoustonLive, HOUSATONIC.live. This page is still a mess here. I don't even have a good title for it. This is a continuation, I guess, of the show that was I did yesterday morning in cleanup. And I think the cleanup version came out well. I cut out one part towards the end of my cleanup version where I told people that continue to push me into having everything being about Trump bad to go to that place where there's eternal fire. And I cut that out. I didn't think it was necessary, but I still feel that way. As I've said before, a million times, I guess by now, I got involved in this because of the opioid epidemic. That was really the first thing that got me started. It was my wife and I, and my wife is not part of this other than supporting it and being my life partner. And, of course, the addiction which impacted the family, of course. It was probably around 2012, maybe. That's when the addiction was impacting our family, first impacting our family. And we were just confused as to why it wasn't a bigger local news story in the state of Massachusetts. I had no idea what the historical numbers were. All I knew is that a lot of people were dealing with addiction. I had my own personal encounter, like I was physically had to deal with an opioid addiction, which was not that bad in the grand scheme of things. But for a few months, it was after back surgery. I had back surgery because I slipped one of my lower discs on slipping on ice when I was doing trail running. And I actually didn't slip on a trail. If I fell on a trail, it was actually an area of pavement going from a parking lot to a trail. But whatever the case, we were confused as to why it wasn't getting more visibility. And then, of course, it got more serious and impacted the family harder. And throughout the 2000 teens, we did more reading. We encountered more people who are also dealing with it or had children dealing with it. And we really weren't news junkies, but we would watch the local news anyways. And it goes to show how naive we were. Like, maybe they'll talk about drug addiction tonight. Maybe they'll talk about the number of overdoses tonight. There would be times that we would hear children dying of overdoses, and we were wondering if it would show up on the news, and it wouldn't. It was that time that created this uneasiness, and I think prepared me to do what I'm doing right now. And I often forget that I had this long runway to be able to prepare to do what I'm doing. And sometimes I will say things like, hey, in the year 1999 and 2000, there were 18,500 to 19,500 fatal drug overdoses, all drug overdose types in the United States. And that would not include accidental drug overdoses in hospitals, which would be medical malpractice. And that number in the 2000 teens was in the 40 to 50,000 a year. And the number in Massachusetts was at least 2.5 times historic levels. Of course, I didn't know this going into the 2000 teens, but as of like 2014, 2015, I was aware of them. And because it took really years, 2, 3, 4 years for us to go from not even thinking about this to being in the middle of it, my wife and I, we had a runway to go from not thinking about it to knowing about it. And the mistake I make on my program is I'll say the older number and then I'll say, and that number went up 3 times or 5 times as of 2015 or 16. And then it went up again. It almost doubled again to a total of almost 120,000 fatal drug overdoses in the year 2022 and 2023. And I'll say that, I mean, it rattles people, but it doesn't impact them in a way that is effective for them to make any significant immediate change. Now, if you've been here a long time and you've been supporting me and following me, you've already been on this path for a while, maybe even years. But when someone first hears that, it doesn't really do anything as far as changing what they're likely to be concerned about after my program, because you need to stew in things for a while to, I guess, be motivated to act differently. I often forget that I had this long on-ramp, and I don't then pass on sympathy and empathy for how it would take other people years, just like it took me years to go from not really thinking about it to being here. For those who sense sometimes that I'm impatient about that, I'm sorry. But going back to the Trump comment, he's been very ineffective at helping. The truth is, Trump has been very ineffective at doing anything meaningful to help the drug epidemic. I know that, and I have to say it. It's the truth. But in defense, he's one of the only people that has ever even mentioned it and has treated parents who have lost children with empathy and attention and with civility. I know that people can't stand that, but it's the truth. And out of respect and appreciation for that, as well as for some of my closest friends who've lost, again, 2 kids, and have worked with Trump on this, I don't see Trump as the worst person in all of Washington, D.C. And given the fact that so many other people have spent their entire lives are focused on the polarization of this one person who, if Trump disappeared tomorrow, I don't really see the world changing that much. This Human Genome Project, which is the source of so much of world governance right now, started before Trump was even born. And it's going to continue after he dies. And what has happened is there have been people I've met along the way of this research journey who seem so open-minded to looking at the whole range of things, right? I'm like, and I get excited at first. I'm like, wow, this person doesn't seem to want to just focus on Trump and a Jewish family. They're willing to look at all these other things, all these other scientific endeavors. They seem open to the 9/11 narrative, which is incredibly well documented in books, other books besides myself, regarding it being about biological terrorism and DNA, vaccines, etc. But then, given enough time, they always seem to migrate towards Trump. And it drives me crazy. Like, can't you just let it go? I'm not interested. And I'm not saying I'm a staunch defender and I have some delusion that I just said, as far as I can see, Trump has not done anything useful or meaningful. But he's at least shown some level of civility and attention. And given how little I've seen from anyone, anywhere, I'll take what I can get. I'm just so frustrated that no matter how much I show, I don't know. I'm trying to communicate something, and I know that there's no way to communicate it without people just taking it all out of context. All right. Let me try to right this ship here. So this timeline here, the Robert De Niro, Harvey Weinstein timeline here. The De Niro timeline is being inspired by Robert De Niro on the recent Jimmy Kimmel show, and then thank you to Jonathan J. Cooey helping me see how, reminding me and reminding his audience how Robert De Niro was showing up as part of this autism awareness at the Tribeca Film Festival, which he created to help revitalize and restore the neighborhoods around the Twin Towers after September 11th, 2001, promoting the movie Vaxxed, again, RFK Jr., etc., and knowing that, and it doesn't take much research to figure it out, that Robert De Niro has a 30-plus year relationship with Harvey Weinstein, professional relationship at the very least, could be very personal, I don't know, but at the very least professional, and that does count for something. I'm curious about Robert De Niro's overall timeline right now over those 30 years. And that has led to me sketching out a timeline of De Niro, Weinstein, and now other curious people such as actor Charlie Sheen. Charlie Estevez, but Charlie Sheen, who's in the news a lot right now. Here we go, Charlie Sheen. Now, Charlie Sheen, of course, is known as a Hollywood bad boy. He has dealt with extensive drug abuse. He has dated so many famous actresses, it's ridiculous. He's been in a lot of different sitcoms. He's probably made a lot of money and lost a lot of money. And he got visibility, speaking of Harvey Weinstein, in 2017. Harvey Weinstein was known as one of those, the bad boys of Hollywood, casting couch. But when Harvey Weinstein was getting the attention of being everything wrong with men and everything wrong with Hollywood and the Me Too movement, Charlie Sheen was being put in there as well. And Charlie Sheen was, and there's other actors who started to make statements that Charlie Sheen is part of the club, and there's this rape culture in Hollywood and cults and everything else, and QAnon, etc. So Charlie Sheen was part of that whole thing, all of that discussion in 2017. But Charlie Sheen right now, he was just on Tucker Carlson for almost a 2-hour interview. Like, wow, okay, well, it's interesting timing. And one of the main topics was how Charlie Sheen doesn't believe in 9/11 narratives. So what does that mean? Charlie Sheen doesn't believe in the official narrative of 9/11. What does that mean? Well, that means that Charlie Sheen believes that there was potentially an explosive aspect, as far as building demolition goes, to the Twin Towers. And I guess some people in the Bush family made money. Wow. So in other words, what Charlie Sheen believes, right now it sounds so, right-wing, is effectively the same thing that Michael Moore was saying. Michael Moore, of course, got his money from Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein, it gets discredited at the same time as Charlie Sheen. Harvey Weinstein is a longtime friend of the other person that is in the media right now a lot, Robert De Niro. Matter of fact, if you want to think of Robert De Niro and Charlie Sheen at the same time, Charlie Sheen in 2017 or so made a statement that his wife at the time has the physical hots for Robert De Niro and wanted Robert De Niro to come over to Charlie Sheen's house for a 3-way sex party. So Robert De Niro and Charlie Sheen have this weird alliance connection as well. They haven't filmed a lot together, but there's something odd going on there. Charlie Sheen also was on Joe Rogan's show for 2-something hours on the day of the Charlie Kirk shooting. So the Charlie Kirk shooting happened during the time that Charlie Sheen was being interviewed by Joe Rogan. And Charlie Sheen now also just has a huge Netflix special coming out. And Charlie Sheen also, on that Tucker Carlson interview, talked about the Loose Change series from Alex Jones and how Alex Jones had it right. Alex Jones was predicting 9/11 right. So Charlie Sheen is now being pushed into our eyeballs and on our feeds and is on videos and there's a new documentary coming out and a book and Charlie Sheen and 9/11. I can't even believe it. So now we have another Hollywood actor being revitalized and put out everywhere and more 9/11 compelling stuff. So what does Charlie Sheen believe about 9/11? That there were planes. The planes did fly into buildings. The planes were hijacked. They were hijacked by Muslims. And the buildings blew up because maybe there were some bombs in them. Which I guess maybe, to correct what I said a few minutes ago, is a little bit further than what Michael Moore said. Michael Moore said that didn't say that the buildings blew up because of bombs in the buildings. He just said that they allowed the planes to hit the buildings because someone in the George Bush family wanted some money. Talk about half-baked narratives. How is it that people can own the banking system, but somehow don't have the ability to just print an extra few billion here or there when they need it? Who is going to know? I mean, seriously, where are the everyday people that are looking after the books to make sure that the people who own the banks don't print an extra few $1 billion here or there? Nobody's going to know. So do you really need to have this whole great big rigmarole of 9/11 for an extra few $1 billion? And you can just print it and no one would know anyways? Come on. It's such a half-baked narrative. Such a stupid idea. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Anyways, Charlie Sheen seems to right now be hot, and there's going to be a 9/11 angle to it. Robert De Niro is also hot. Matter of fact, Robert De Niro, speaking of autism, just made a movie in 2024 about raising a child with autism. So Robert De Niro is definitely hot right now in the autism awareness promotion thing. And here Robert De Niro is with Jane Rosenthal. Jane Rosenthal, by the way, who Robert De Niro is with here in this the promotion of the movie Vaxxed at the Tribeca Film Festival, the 9/11 Film Festival, with Jane Rosenthal. Jane Rosenthal is the executive producer of the movie The Irishman. You know, that saga, which is trying to get people to believe that the Kennedy assassination was what? Because of what? Drugs and organized crime. That's all you need to know. Just another great big part of the narrative control. But anyways, Jane Rosenthal's here. Jane Rosenthal's an old Kennedy friend, and we're going to get back to that one in a minute. But we know that Robert De Niro did the voiceover for a movie called 9/11, made not long after 9/11, a year after 9/11, and has this 9/11 Memorial Film Festival, and is on the 9/11 Memorial Fund, etc., as well as Jane Rosenthal. So they're a huge part of the 9/11 narrative control. Another person, surprisingly, though, that's part of the 9/11 narrative control is Charlie Sheen. He's promoting Alex Jones. He's on Tucker Carlson talking about how the 9/11 report is probably wrong. Maybe there were some bombs. We're getting to the bomb point. We're finally opening up. But, of course, if there's bombs, where did they come from? Well, the answer, of course, is going to be Israel. Of course. It's going to be Israel, and it's going to be, again, because Bush wanted to make money. Anything but mentioning the book Germs, which came out September 9th, 2001. Anything but talking about biological terror attack, as well as misconstruing the fact that when Alex Jones was talking about a terror attack, he was referring to New York Times articles, which were citing the 2001 Judith Miller book Germs. Alex Jones was not talking about planes and bombs. He was talking about a bioterror attack. That's what Alex Jones predicted, and that's what didn't happen. And somehow Charlie Sheen in his brains missed over that, and Tucker Carlson, as a terrible cross-examiner, also missed that. What's also odd is a big part of 9/11, the New York City mayor, Rudy Giuliani. And Rudy Giuliani is with Joshua Lederberg, that no one loves, that everyone is trying to not talk about as well. A lot of terrible podcasters and researchers out there never talk later. And if they mention Lederberg, they'll just say, I don't know, Mossad or something, which is a joke to reduce all of Lederberg's life and legacy to being something that he wasn't even part of. But Giuliani, remember, was in a potential business deal with Robert De Niro and Harvey Weinstein regarding the old Navy Yard in Brooklyn, which fell through in 2000, much to the sadness of De Niro and Weinstein and their good close friend Hillary Clinton. But going back to Giuliani, there was actually a sitcom about Giuliani in the 1990s called, and it wasn't about Giuliani specifically, it was about the mayor of New York City and the deputy mayor of New York City. You know what that sitcom was called? Spin City. It was about a mayor of New York City. He's cheating on his wife and having affairs, and he's just a great big doofus. And there's this public relations department, effectively, to help the mayor out. Spin City. You want to know who the star of Spin City was? Oh, that's right, Charlie Sheen. As a matter of fact, Charlie Sheen was playing the mayor of New York City in a series called Spin City, which was in its last season for 9/11. So Charlie Sheen was part of the ridiculing of the capabilities and of the New York City mayor. Odd, because Giuliani was going to take all the heat should there have been a biological terror attack in a major U.S. metropolitan center. And Giuliani, of course, was the person that was considered to be at one point one of the biggest threats to Hillary Clinton becoming senator. Also, Charlie Sheen then went on to actually be in a movie. You can't even make this stuff up, okay? Charlie Sheen was the star of a movie called 9/11. So Charlie Sheen is the star of a movie called 9/11 with Whoopi Goldberg and Luis Guzman and Jacqueline Bisset. about some people that were in an elevator in the Twin Towers. And Charlie Sheen is also one of the main, 9/11 conspiracy promoters right now. And Charlie Sheen is now going to be all over the air, and Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson, he has been, and more, probably talking about, we have amazing 9/11 insights right now. There were bombs. Of course there were bombs. You can see them. Not talking about bioterror 911, though. Again, it's just wasting more time. Meanwhile, Charlie Sheen's, the person that he wants to have a three-way with his wife, Robert De Niro, set up the 9/11 Film Festival and did the narration for the 9/11 film, a documentary that came out in 2002. The quantity of 9/11 narrative control. And Fahrenheit 9/11 came out with probably his closest business partner supporting it, Harvey Weinstein, being directed by Michael Moore, premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival, which was created by Robert De Niro and Jane Rosenthal in the Tribeca neighborhood as a memorial to help revitalize and recover the Tribeca neighborhood after September 11th, 2001. So it's amazing how these old white guys, they're trying to look younger than they really are huge parts right now of the Hollywood machinery and controlling the 9/11 narrative. If you don't mind my saying so, I believe that I'm responsible for this. I really do. In spite of the fact that you're watching one of the darkest corners in the dustiest, darkest corners of the internet right now, I know that the reasons why they're having to dust off Charlie Sheen, Robert De Niro, old Alex Jones videos, and go full tilt with more conferences and more Tucker Carlson, maybe even more assassinations and saying it's Israel, is because of just how damn on point I am with showing how September 11th, 2001 was going to be a biological terror attack. I wonder who they're going to dust off next. I should just go through every 9/11 movie ever made and list out the actors and the directors, because it's all hands on deck right now. They're at this weird point where I believe they need to make it a few more years before finally there's already almost a full generation, basically, right? 25 years, a lot of people are born, parents who have been 25 years or so. It's almost a full generation away, 9/11, and they managed to kick the can down the road long enough to, sort of like JFK, no truth. No one's ever going to know what happened with JFK. It's been too long ago right now. If anyone does want to figure out whatever happened to the JFK assassination, you have to look at it through an alternative route. And for example, starting with the Estes Kefauver assassination, which no one will. They won't even mention the name. Because, and when you mention that to somebody and they change the subject, that means that they're taking money to lie about why people die. Sorry, guilty. So that's how you show that they're guilty. So and Charlie Sheen is all over this as well. I can't even believe it. Anyways, so let's go to the some of the content that I wanted to cover today. It's a New York Times article from 2001. So I'm going to skip around a little bit here, and I think the way to do it is I'll start here, and then I'm going to branch out a little bit, and I'm already 46 minutes in, and maybe I'll delete the other part earlier, because I can't figure out a way to be able to voice my disdain and frustration at how I'm constantly being pushed and bullied into this corner of having to admit that Trump is the root of all evil and focus everything on Trump. And no one shows any empathy for the fact that what got me here was the drug epidemic, and how Trump has shown some civility towards people who dealt with that. So this is from the New York Times, June 26, 2001. Will the real statue... No, that's not the one I wanted. It's... Here we go. Yeah. August 1st, 2001. August 1st, 2001. 5 weeks before 9/11. New York Times runs an article, Air Force One has flown, but Clinton is still celebrity in chief. August 1st, 2001. With such an array of options, a man never known for his discretion at a buffet must choose carefully. More than anything, his public service, and they're talking about Bill Clinton, now relies on private commitments and contributions. He implored, quote, ordinary middle-class people who don't have a lot of money, unquote, to donate to fight the international AIDS crisis yesterday. He wants corporations to invest in Harlem and inner cities. After months of quiet groundwork, he has begun to take his priorities public. Yesterday, he held a news conference with Kenneth Edmonds, a multi-Grammy-winning songwriter and producer known as Babyface, to discuss his support for the International AIDS Trust, a nonprofit run by Mr. Clinton's former AIDS czar, Sandra Thurman. Mr. Clinton, President Clinton, heads the organization's board of advisors. Mr. Edmonds, a friend of the former president's, will give concerts and produce CDs to support the case, or Babyface. So here we are in 2001, August. Bill Clinton's focus is AIDS. AIDS. Now, just in case you forgot, HIV for gene therapy. And here's the article here. Scientists hope to use HIV to fight AIDS and other diseases. January 19th, 1999. This is a picture of Inder Verma at the Salk Institute. Inder Verma is the man who was the boss of, advisor of Robert Malone for years. Inder Verma at the Salk Institute is also was kicked out of the whole world of sciences because of some sexual discrimination case or something like that, which may be real, but I suspect it was done to just to get him out of the spotlight. And here's Inder Verma saying HIV to fight AIDS and other diseases. In other words, the study of HIV is being used to provide a basis for how to do gene therapy and DNA vaccines. Another way of thinking about it is that the study of HIV and AIDS is going to provide a way to make experimental vaccines, such as experimental anthrax vaccines, perhaps, to help people, I don't know, after transfection, create antigens, express proteins, which will make them immune to AIDS. Something which, of course, would be promoted if there was a large-scale biological terror attack in a major U.S. metropolitan center, and the United States military needed to be protected against AIDS, anthrax. And the old anthrax vaccine couldn't be made fast enough because the factory was shut down and so on and so forth, just like the book Germs talks about. Anyways, so while I'm highlighting how Hillary Clinton, being senator of New York State and New York City now, is in a position to well oversee whatever happens in New York City should there be a biological terror attack, leading to the use of experimental DNA vaccines, as documented in the book Germs, which was released September 9th, 2001. Here we are throughout 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001. Inder Verma and presumably his associate, Robert Malone, who's working with him or in other places, are working on that particular backbone technology. Now, going back to the article that I was just reading here President Clinton is worried about AIDS. Interesting, all of this concern about AIDS, at the same time they're worried about a bioterror attack. See how the two fit together? Now, if you think that's odd, don't forget the fact that, now our new person of the hour, Charlie Sheen, there's actually something called the Charlie Sheen effect. You ever hear the Charlie Sheen effect? It's amazing how many of these things just connect. The Charlie Sheen effect, Charlie Sheen's disclosure of his HIV positive diagnosis corresponded with the greatest number of HIV Google searches ever recorded in the history of the United States. During the 3 weeks following his disclosure, there were about 2.7 1.5 million more searches than expected that included the term HIV, and 1.25 million searches were directly relevant to public health outcomes because they included search terms for condoms, HIV symptoms, and HIV testing. A study later found, or a later study found, Sheen's disclosure also corresponded with a 95% increase in over-the-counter at-home HIV testing kits. And this is called the Charlie Sheen effect. It's amazing. Charlie Sheen effect and AIDS. Now, if you think Charlie Sheen is going to be Mr. Anti-Woke, don't forget the fact that a major donor and supporter for Aid for AIDS since 2006, Charlie Sheen was honored with an AFA Angel Award, only a few ever given, at the nonprofit's 25th Silver Anniversary Reception 2009. In addition to his financial support, he has volunteered to act as a celebrity judge for several years for their annual fundraiser, Best in Drag Show, which raises about $250,000 each year in Los Angeles for AIDS assistance. He has brought other celebrities to support the event, including his father, actor Martin Sheen. If you're looking for a show that's just going to tell jokes about transsexuals or people who go through gender transformation, trans men and trans women, sorry, this isn't the show for you. There's already a lot of other shows that deal with that. People have their own problems to deal with, and I'm not one to comment on it. Okay, I'm not going to be one to commenting on it. And but before there's this amazing acceptance of anti-woke, super whatever, edgy Charlie Sheen. Remember, he is rabidly anti-gun. He is rabidly pro, drag show, using drag shows to raise money for AIDS. Of course, AIDS research provides a lot of money to learn about, gene therapy using HIV technology as a backbone for the delivering of recipes for proteins to express, i.e. transfection. Charlie Sheen's in the show. Charlie Sheen's part of the 9/11 story, and so on and so forth. So get ready to be smothered with Charlie Sheen and being encouraged to think of him as one thing, and being there to help to wake people up. But come on, you can see it a mile away. It's all about doing anything and everything to not talking about Bio 911. Now, going back here, now that we've talked about how President Clinton, August 2001, super President Clinton, now ex-president Bill Clinton, is so interested in raising money for AIDS, and of course, his wife Hillary Clinton is now a key senator with Robert De Niro. Hillary Clinton, very close. One of her best friends is Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein is the longtime business partner of Robert De Niro. Harvey Weinstein and Robert De Niro, as I just said, are huge parts of creating and supporting fake 9/11 narratives. But let's go back to this August 2001 article. He met, and I guess that means President Clinton met, and posed for pictures with visiting Arkansas legislators. He met with Richard D. Parsons, vice chairman of AOL Time Warner, the presidents of Tommy Hilfiger and Court TV, and others to discuss the national campaign against youth violence. He sat for a long-promised interview for a documentary on the rise of the global economy, discoursing with enthusiasm about the importance of trade and the need for global responsibility on issues like the environment. Of course, that ties in with RFK Jr. and his whole Waterkeeper oath thing. Then it was off to the Dakota apartment of Jane Rosenthal. So Bill Clinton and Jane Rosenthal are a thing here in 2001. Jane Rosenthal is always popping up in all the wrong places here with not Charlie Sheen. You can just use the names interchangeably. They're actors after all. But Robert De Niro. Jane Rosenthal, huge supporter of the Kennedys. Jane Rosenthal, Tribeca Film Festival. Jane Rosenthal, big part of promoting all the again, more false narratives about the JFK assassination, as well as the assassination of Jimmy Hoffa in the movie The Irishman, thanks to Robert De Niro. Of course, Whitney Webb loves this. You can write whole books about sexual compromise and everything without a shred of evidence. Just mythical books referring to other mythical books and movies which refer to other movies and other mythical books. And an never-ending, list of BS citations. Going back to here, let's see here. In the crowd of celebrities with Bill Clinton, August 2001, Mr. Clinton was still celebrity in chief. He greeted, often with bear hugs, friends like Robert De Niro, Harvey Weinstein, and Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, Robert De Niro, Harvey Weinstein. So you have Donald Trump here, hugging, loving, with the 9/11 narrative control group. I mean, there's the controlled demolition, and then there's the narrative control group. Robert De Niro, who invited him to play golf. So Donald Trump is very close with the Clintons, or at least was. There is not a shred of evidence anywhere, I promise you, that Donald Trump was anything but a key part of this group as of this date. I have an unpopular opinion, or at the very least, a minority opinion, that when Donald Trump saw that buildings will actually be demolished, the size of the Twin Towers, that the world was a little bit different than even he thought. I know it's unpopular, and maybe I'm romanticizing it. I don't know. But given the fact that I have photos and stories and firsthand accounts about Trump being one of the only people in D.C. that will give anyone who's lost a child to a drug overdose the time of day, yeah, I'm willing to extend that. That's something I'm willing to extend to Trump. So that is and now a name that was mentioned here was Richard Parsons, also there. You remember this photograph here, one of the least appreciated photographs out there in the conspiracy research world. Here's Parsons here. He's the black man in the back, definitely the tallest in this photo. And wow, he must be really tall. I never really thought about that. Maybe it's just the angle. Here's Bill Gates Sr. This is the father of Bill Gates here. And Bill Gates Sr. was, I think, 6'10". I don't know. I don't know what happened at the hospital. But little Bill Gates is somehow William Henry Gates III is the son of a guy who's like 6'10". Now maybe as you get older, you're not always as tall as you used to be. I don't think Dan Rather was that tall. I didn't think Dan Rather was 6'4", 6'5". That doesn't seem right either. Maybe he was, but this would mean Parsons is over 7 foot. I did not know that. I mean, that's like NBA center territory. Anyways, there's Parsons, and there's the head of the IMF, and there's Soros, Rather, Judy Woodruff, Anthony Fauci, Turner is there, and this is the crowd in front that supports AIDS research. What else do you need to know? This photo was taken in New York City at the Carnegie Institute at an event which was planned several months before it happened. This is an event that was planned to either get ready for or to celebrate the entrance of the new era of gene therapy. And in fact, when you consider that this was in December 2001, I think that this would have been happening right after Bio 9/11, which I think was most likely going to be on Thanksgiving Day. Although that's up for debate still. Speaking of Hillary Clinton here now, here's more articles here. This was from June 2001. One of these social things. This is about a wax museum. There was a wax statue exhibit with Al Roker, and who else has shown up there? Kerry Kennedy was there. Donald Trump was there. President Bush was there. Robert De Niro was there, etc. This was in June 26, 2001. So they're all together in 2001. Here, now this one I found interesting. This is a little bit earlier, April 1st, 2001. Hillary Clinton is scheduled to attend on a senator at that time, New York State, on April 12th, 2001, hearing into 12 recent cases of childhood leukemia, cancer, curable maybe with gene therapy and personalized medicine someday. Former First Lady will join Senator Harry Reid, Democrat, Nevada, and other members of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee for the fallout in Fallon. Isn't that amazing? So Hillary Clinton is already working with Harry Reid, and Harry Reid, the senator of Nevada, hires the man who is just the lawyer to help set up the Winber Center, the Winber Cancer Research Center, where Robert Malone was. You know, Richard Verma, who went on to become the the ambassador to India. And when Richard Verma went on to become the ambassador to India, you think I'm reaching here? No, because he was the deputy Secretary of State of the United States of America under Hillary Clinton. In fact, when they were talking about the gefilte fish, they were the gefilte fish email regarding Hillary Clinton was with Hillary Clinton and Richard Verma. So this is proof that Hillary Clinton, Richard Verma, Harry Reid, Winber Center, there's an odd connection there. And, of course, Harry Reid supports the, financially anyways, the Whittemore Peterson Chronic Fatigue Research Institute out in Reno, Nevada. You know, the one where Judy Mikovits went to. Judy Mikovits, of course, at this time is out in the Santa Barbara area, probably connected with some of the other interests related to who knows what out there. Maybe having hot dogs with Steve Bannon. Who the hell knows? Pre-2001. Thinking about the impacts of a biological terror attack and the DNA vaccines, which could be enabled by such an event. Pretty amazing. As maybe a hat tip, after Senator Hillary Clinton becomes senator, she was going to rename a building for RFK. That's right. New York Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton enthusiastically supported renaming the Justice Department headquarters, New York City, after another junior Democratic senator from New York, Robert F. Kennedy, RFK Sr. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that RFK Jr. was going to run for senator and was even comparing Hillary Clinton to RFK's dad. RFK Jr., having already been in New York State, probably could have won. Probably could have been senator. Now, JFK Jr., I think, was the most popular. He dies in 1999, unfortunately. RFK Jr. was also very popular, but RFK Jr. is a bit of a submissive weakling. And he basically eventually just submitted and bent over and let Hillary Clinton become the senator. A lot of interesting things happening here. I found this one interesting. January 21st, 2001. Remember, January 19th or 20th, 2001 was the election, or I should say the inauguration. Bush just became president. Hillary Clinton is just becoming senator January 21st, 2001. It's like her first or second day. And what is she talking about here in this article here from the Newsday? Let's see here. Talking with at a breakfast, he, and I think this is I don't know who this Griechi is here, made a plea to the Agriculture Secretary, United States nominee, to stop upgrading Plum Island facilities. Plum Island Animal Infectious Disease Research Center. You know, where they're anthrax and mad cow and everything else in Long Island Sound, about an hour and a half crop duster flight away from New York City. Changes that would allow the study of more dangerous infectious microbes. The nominee, Ann Veneman, whom the Senate confirmed immediately following the inauguration, agreed to meet for a more prolonged discussion. So Hillary Clinton is involved in what? Trying to delay the nomination of a new Department of Agriculture secretary to not upgrade the facilities? Why would you not want to upgrade the facilities? Why? So it'd be easier for someone to break into the facilities in the fall of 2001 and have a biological terror attack? Hillary Clinton is already interested in Plum Island on day 3 of her job? Amazing. Let's see here. There's probably a few other articles I wanted to highlight here. There's a ton of stuff on Plum Island right in early 2001. I used to talk a lot about Plum Island. I don't anymore. I thought for a while that Plum Island and this whole RNA pandemic thing was real. Or I should say RNA pandemics are real. So I, early in the pandemic, enthusiastically supported the possibility that there could be real pandemics and they could be created by gain-of-function research. And one of the places where maybe they came from was Plum Island, which is one of the reasons why I talked about Plum Island so much. I don't think that's possible anymore. I think you can just have a lot of filthy laboratories and you can kill a lot of animals with germs. And that's it. You're not going to cause a global pandemic or destroy, humankind's food supply with an accidental mishap in one laboratory on one island. But you can create a lot of scary narratives. And a lot of the scary narratives about bioterrorism and food supply and everything else going into 2001, sure enough, was about Plum Island. And the book Germs, and even Richard Preston himself, make multiple mentions of Plum Island. So you'll see, it's interesting how Plum Island was dominating newspapers in early September 2001, creating awareness of gain-of-function viruses and germs and bioterrorism and everything else. I don't have all of those articles copied out, but they're there and they are real. Let's see here. And I think this is the last article I'm going to read. This is from the Ag Week, which is an agriculture-based magazine or newspaper. I don't know where it's published, somewhere in the United States. On September 17th, 2001, this is 6 days after 9/11, they ran this article here. Now, given that this is a trade magazine, this article probably took a few weeks to write. So the fact that this is being published on September 17th, 2001, does not mean it was written just before. It was probably written 1 or 2 weeks before, meaning it was actually written before September 11th, 2001. So this news article in Ag Week reads the following. It's not long. New product detects airborne foot and mouth disease virus, and it's out of Rosslyn, Virginia. Lares Corp, that's Lares Corporation, and Lares Corp is a subsidiary of I think something called Camber Corporation, which is in Alabama. Lares Corp, in cooperation with the Agricultural Research Service at Plum Island Animal Disease Center in New York, has demonstrated capability to collect airborne foot and mouth virus particles. Lares Corporation employees used a commercially designed high-volume air sampler to collect 5 virus particles in a liquid sample within a controlled laboratory environment. Researchers from ARS then analyzed the samples in the RAPID Rapid, a polymerase chain reaction analytical device, which provided positive confirmation of the presence of the foot and mouth disease virus in the sample. The commercial air sampler will be marketed and sold through Lares. According to Lares, Lares, the air sampler, when used in conjunction with Rapid, provides a powerful capability to detect and identify a wide range of airborne pathogens in both agricultural and industrial environments and can be adapted for air quality monitoring in various medical and industrial environments. Isn't that handy that something like that was being announced just before 9/11? Wow. It's almost as if people were thinking there was going to be a large-scale biological terror attack. And if you want a little bit more about that Lares Corporation, You can find a little bit more in the Huntsville Times. This is regarding some companies which are having some success in the area. Let's see here. Camber Corporation's subsidiary, Lares Corp, makes a device that can sniff the air for biological weapons. And here, this is odd. Another company that just happens to be nearby, called Envirofoam, distributes a substance that's been used to clean anthrax from congressional offices. Oh, lordy, 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 lordy. So, yeah, no, there's no anthrax on Plum Island. I guess to review, I'll have to delete the part about Trump again. I don't know how to say it. I need to figure out a way because it's driving me crazy. And I just want people to leave me alone. If they just want everything to be about Trump, just leave me alone. Okay? Leave me alone, or do me a favor. And if you're going to smash Trump over and over and over and over again relentlessly as if it's the only thing that matters, can you at least throw me a bone and say, hey, the United States did just have its largest loss of life event in its history in the fatal drug overdose epidemic that no one has talked about, and they used the data, of dropping life expectancy to suggest we had a deadly novel virus from a lab or a cave. And, President Clinton is the only one that has shown any level of civility towards parents that have lost kids. And maybe that's why Mark Kulak of Housatonic doesn't want to lean in on Trump as the root of all evil in the world. How about just throwing me a bone like that every once in a while, instead of demanding that I just keep forgetting about this drug epidemic thing and just say, oh, it's just Trump. That's why I just get so frustrated. But anyways, I thought you'd appreciate these articles and just the whole how Charlie Sheen ties in. I mean, come on. More 9/11 narrative controls. That's all it's going to be. And until I hear a good explanation otherwise, because it is and always was and always will be about the Human Genome Project. 9/11 was, as the books say, going to be about creating excuses and reasons and narratives to advance the Human Genome Project. That's the story. That's the whole story. And you're just going to get more narrative controllers. They're recruiting deep into the bench right now, Charlie Sheen and Robert De Niro, to provide, to keep people distracted and running in different directions and not seeing what's most important. So that's it. I think I'll feel better if I spend some time outside transplanting that tree. I'm actually now going to be going to work in my son's memorial garden. I'm actually planting trees and moving things in a memorial garden. So that garden was made because of the drug epidemic. Isn't that kind of wild? As you review the show, and perhaps some people will get mad and criticize, think about that, okay? Think about that. All right, guys. Thank you. Take care. Have a great morning. Love you very much. God bless.